Before we begin, if you love deep, emotional, true-life stories that pull you in and don't let go, make sure you hit subscribe because the stories on this channel aren't just told, they're felt. And today's story? It starts with something small. So small most people would have walked away and forgotten it. But sometimes, one tiny moment, one familiar voice, one unexpected meeting, can quietly open a door you were never supposed to step through. And once you do, there's no going back. What if the past didn't stay in the past? What if the person you thought you'd left behind wasn't really gone at all? And what if the one connection you promised yourself would never cross a line slowly became the only thing your heart wanted? This is Ethan's story, and it began on an ordinary Saturday morning at a farmer's market. 2 years. That's how long Ethan had been divorced. 2 quiet, careful, emotionally empty years. 2 years of rebuilding a life that felt more like a temporary rental than a home. 2 years of learning how to sleep alone without reaching across the bed. 2 years of pretending he was fine. He had mastered the art of distance. Distance from old memories. Distance from old streets. Distance from anyone connected to his former life. Maplewood, Oregon, wasn't a big town. It was the kind of place where everybody accidentally ran into everybody else at least twice a week. But somehow, through careful planning and pure luck, Ethan had managed to avoid Claire's family completely.
No awkward encounters.
No sympathetic looks.
No whispered conversations. No reminders. Just peace.
Or, at least, something that looked like peace. That Saturday morning, the air smelled like citrus and fresh bread. Farmers called out prices. Children laughed near the fountain. A guitarist played soft country music near the entrance. The market buzzed with life. But Ethan felt separate from it all, like he was walking through someone else's movie. He stood at a peach stand, picking one up, weighing it in his hand, pretending to care which one was ripest. Truthfully, he just liked having something to focus on. Something simple. Something that didn't ask emotional questions. He handed the vendor a few dollars.
Turned.
And that's when he heard it. A voice.
Soft. Warm.
Familiar in a way that made his chest tighten instantly. Ethan? Not loud. Not dramatic. Just his name. But the way she said it felt like someone gently pulling him backward through time. His stomach dropped. Slowly he turned. And there she was. Linda Harper. For a second, the world blurred around the edges. Like everything else faded away. She stood there holding a small basket of white and yellow flowers. Her brown hair was pulled back loosely. She wore a light sweater and jeans. Simple. Comfortable. Exactly the way he remembered. She looked almost the same. Maybe a little older. A few softer lines around her eyes. But still.
Calm.
Gentle. The kind of presence that used to make chaotic family dinners feel peaceful. The kind of person who could quiet a room without trying. His former mother-in-law. The last person he ever expected to see. "Hi, Ethan," she said again, smiling softly. His brain scrambled for the right response. There wasn't a manual for this moment. Linda. The words came out steadier than he felt. They stood there awkwardly. People moving around them. Music playing. Life continuing. But between them, time stalled. Like the universe had pressed pause. "I didn't know you were back in town," she said. "I moved here last fall," Ethan replied. "New job. Real estate firm downtown." "Oh," she nodded. "That's good. That's really good." A beat of silence. Then she added carefully, "Claire moved to Chicago." That hit him harder than expected. She did. Marketing position. Big company. He forced a polite smile. That's good for her. It was strange hearing about his ex-wife like she was an old coworker. Someone distant. Someone abstract. Not the woman he once planned a future with. Linda studied his face. Really studied him. The way only she ever used to. She had always been able to read him too well. Back when he and Claire fought, Linda would quietly ask, "Are you okay?" Not accusing. Not judging. Just concerned. Sometimes he felt like she understood him better than his own wife did. And that thought had always made him uncomfortable. Back then. It's been a long time, she said softly. Yeah, he nodded. It has. He could have ended it right there. A polite goodbye. A nod. Walk away. Simple. Safe. But something invisible held him in place. Like his feet were glued to the ground. I worried about you, she admitted. After everything. Everything. That's how small towns describe divorce. Never details. Never truth. Just everything. A single word heavy enough to carry years of pain. I'm fine, he lied gently, because explaining loneliness to someone you barely see anymore felt impossible. How do you describe eating dinner in silence every night, or staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. wondering where life went wrong? I'm fine was easier. Then she surprised him. Would you like to get coffee? He blinked. Just to catch up. Her tone was casual. Innocent. Harmless. Like it meant nothing. And maybe it did mean nothing. She had once been family. Maybe this was just closure. Maybe this was just two adults talking. Maybe. Sure, he heard himself say. And, without realizing it, without planning it, without understanding it, Ethan took the first step toward something that would change all three of their lives forever. They crossed the street together toward a small cafe with tall glass windows and warm lights glowing inside. It smelled like cinnamon and roasted coffee beans. Comforting. Dangerously comforting. Like a memory waiting to wake up. And neither of them knew that this harmless coffee was the beginning of a connection neither of them had expected, and neither of them would be able to ignore. The bell above the cafe door chimed softly as they stepped inside. Warm air wrapped around Ethan like a blanket.
Coffee. Vanilla.
Cinnamon. It smelled like comfort. Like rainy mornings. Like memories he didn't know he still carried. For a split second, he almost stopped walking. Because places like this used to belong to another life. Sunday mornings with Claire. Shared muffins. Quiet arguments disguised as small talk. Back then, he thought they were building something permanent. Now it all felt like scenes from a movie he once watched. Not his life. Not anymore. And yet, walking in beside Linda felt strangely familiar. Too familiar. They ordered their drinks. Black coffee for him. Vanilla latte for her.
He remembered that.
She always liked vanilla. Even years ago. Even at family gatherings. Back then, he never paid attention to why he remembered small details about her. Now, it unsettled him. They chose a small corner table by the window. Sunlight filtered through the glass, landing in soft gold patches on the wooden floor. Outside, people passed by laughing, talking, living. Inside, it felt quiet. Private. Almost protected. Like the world couldn't reach them here. And that thought made Ethan uneasy. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Just the soft clink of cups. The hiss of the espresso machine. A couple whispering nearby. Normal sounds. Ordinary sounds. But between them, something heavy. Something unsaid. Linda wrapped both hands around her mug. Like she was warming herself. Or steadying herself. I want to say something, she began carefully. Her voice wasn't casual anymore. It was deliberate. Measured. The way people sound when they've been rehearsing words in their head. Ethan looked up. What is it? She hesitated. Then, I don't think I handled your divorce very well. He blinked. That wasn't what he expected. Linda, you didn't have to. No, she interrupted softly. Let me finish. Her eyes met his. Honest. Open. I stayed quiet when I shouldn't have. I tried to protect Claire. I thought that meant keeping my distance from you. She swallowed. But looking back, I think you were hurting too. And I didn't ask. That hit him harder than it should have. Because during the divorce, nobody asked. Not really. Everyone checked on Claire. Comforted her. Supported her. Which made sense. She was their daughter. Their family. But Ethan? He slowly became the outsider. The problem.
The mistake.
The villain of the story. Even when things weren't that simple. It was complicated, he said quietly. The most honest answer he could give. Because how do you explain two people slowly drifting apart?
No cheating. No screaming.
No big explosion. Just
Distance.
silence. Two people living separate lives under the same roof. Like roommates who forgot why they ever loved each other. Linda nodded. I know. She looked down at her cup. Then back at him. You were good to her, Ethan. In ways she never noticed. I saw it. The words were simple, but they cracked something open inside his chest. Because sometimes, being seen matters more than being right. And for the first time in years,
He felt understood.
not judged, not blamed, understood. They talked, and talked, and somehow, an hour disappeared like minutes. They talked about safe things at first.
Work.
His new apartment near the river. Her volunteer job at the local art center. The strange quiet of a house after your child grows up and leaves. It's funny, she said softly, smiling. You spend years wishing for peace and quiet, and then one day it's too quiet. He nodded. I know that feeling. Two lonely people. Admitting loneliness. Without calling it that. Then came stories. Small ones. Funny ones. She laughed at something he said. Really laughed. Head back.
Eyes bright.
And something about that sound.
Hit him straight in the chest.
Because he remembered that laugh. Holiday dinners. Cooking together. Her humming while chopping vegetables. Claire scrolling on her phone while he and Linda talked in the kitchen. Back then, he used to think, if only Claire and I talked this easily. If only things felt this simple. He pushed the thought away. Too dangerous. Too wrong. After a while, they stood to leave. Outside, the afternoon sun was brighter now. The market louder. Life busier. But everything felt slightly different. Like the world had shifted a few degrees. Barely noticeable, but undeniable. I'm really glad we talked, Linda said. Her hand touched his arm lightly. Just for a second. A normal gesture. Friendly. Innocent. But it lingered. Just long enough to feel like something more. And both of them noticed. Neither said anything. Maybe we could do this again sometime, she added quickly. As friends. Friends. The safest word in the world. The most dangerous lie. Yeah, he said. I'd like that. They walked in opposite directions. But halfway to his car,
Ethan slowed down.
something tugged at him. Not desire. Not attraction. Not yet.
Just
Curiosity. Like a door inside his chest had cracked open a few inches. And warm light was spilling through. He told himself it meant nothing. Just nostalgia. Just history. Just two adults reconnecting. Nothing more. Nothing more. Nothing more. But that night, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. His heart jumped for no reason. He opened it.
Linda y Ethan.
I realized I still had her contact saved. I hope that's okay. He stared at the screen longer than necessary. He could ignore it. Keep things simple. Stay safe. Close the door. Instead, he typed.
Of course it's okay.
I'm glad you texted. 3 dots appeared instantly. Today felt nice.
Nice. Such a small word.
But it stayed with him all night. Because nice wasn't what he felt. It felt bigger than nice. Warmer.
Heavier.
Scarier. They started texting.
Slowly. Carefully.
Like stepping onto thin ice. Short messages.
Safe topics.
Photos of flowers from the market. Pictures of the river near his apartment. Books they were reading. Random thoughts. Little things. Meaningless things. Except, they weren't meaningless. Because every time his phone buzzed, his heart reacted. And he hated that. Days passed. Then weeks. And the messages grew longer.
Deeper.
Less careful. They stopped talking about the weather. Started talking about life. Regrets. Loneliness. The what-ifs people only admit late at night. One evening, at 11:40, 2 p.m., her message popped up. Do you ever think about how different things could have been? He stared at it. Long time. Because that wasn't small talk. That wasn't safe. That was a door. Wide open. And he knew, once he stepped through, there was no going back.